Hello, my name is Marvin Oxenham, and I'm the author of the book, Character and Virtue in Theological Education. The purpose of this brief video is to spark your interest as a theological educator in character and virtue education, and hopefully plant some seeds that will generate an enthusing vision for change. I've spent several years researching the topic, and I'm firmly convinced that Christian theological education needs to reclaim the prominence of character and virtue in education. I'm not talking about changes that are merely cosmetic or that can be dealt with by adding a few things here and there, but of a radical re-envisioning of our traditional theological education schemes that take a fresh look at the Missio Dei in terms of nurturing virtuous humans. Now, I know that's a lot, and I must admit that I am at a loss in trying to select and summarize what might motivate you to share my conviction and then act on it. Here is what some theological educators are saying about character and virtue around the world.
The issue of character education is core to what it means to be the people of God and please Him in the way that we live.
I really want to endorse the great importance of character education. It's one thing to build people up in knowledge and information, but without character, without virtue, there's very little gained, I think.
Over my years of serving in the Middle East, I've observed that it is not knowledge that makes or breaks a person in Christian ministry, but their character. Consequently, as we look at developing theological education, we need to ensure that character education plays a central role in what we do.
So we don't want to train just students to be thinkers and to be theologians and know the material, but we want to change also their heart and behavior.
In my involvement in theological education over the years, I've been surprised that we focus so much on spiritual formation and development and discipleship and can't quite understand why the area of character formation hasn't had a higher profile.
And over recent years we've become quite concerned that for holistic education we need to be looking at character formation.
Now, ATA values academic formation, spiritual formation and ministerial formation, but the challenge is how to make sure that these different components in holistic formation are still there.
Right, so we're very concerned there to have character formation at the foundational level of the college. But I think at that point, that's where I stop talking, because we really don't know what we're doing there, and any help is welcome.
As David has said, any help is welcome. So let me start by simply giving you a definition, as you may have never heard of character and virtue education in these terms. What exactly are we talking about, and how does it relate to theological education? First of all, we're talking about character as that which represents the deep fiber of human identity, and that education can orient in stable ways toward praiseworthy functioning. Now, don't misunderstand, we are not talking about lists of moral rules, but about permanent dispositions that become a natural part of us. The well-known triad of knowing, doing, and being clearly applies here, and we are talking about being. We are then talking about virtue. And here we latch on to a specific moral tradition of what it means to be a flourishing human being. This tradition is shared by the philosophical, educational, and theological traditions across the world. When it comes to us, we are talking about nurturing virtue and reducing vice, and hence about educating theological students to become more courageous, prudent, temperate, and just, humble, constant, and less proud, selfish, and greedy. I find this fantastic as an educator, for as we place virtue at the core of our theological education, both we and our students gain an incredibly objective set of goals. Lastly, we are talking about education, Yes, because we are educators and we believe in the power of human beings to intentionally shape other human beings for the good. The word education has sadly slipped to come to refer mostly to academic knowledge and sets of competences. What we are doing here is to reclaim the entire force of the educational spectrum to include the transformation of character toward virtue. Some might argue that this is something that should be done in families and in faith communities, and that is correct. But as theological educators, we cannot shun our responsibility as well to proactively contribute to this vision, especially as we are entrusted with the formation of leaders in society and churches. Don't get me wrong, I'm an academic and I recognize the value of academic theology. Good character and virtue education, in fact, cannot happen without solid academic work and practical training. And character and virtue will frequently arise from good theology. But we cannot just teach theology and train professionals. The problems of society and faith communities, in fact, are not usually in direct connection to poor theology. Nor are the main challenges solved with good skills and competences. Important as academic knowledge and ministry competences may be, it seems to me that what really counts is character. And if knowledge and competence do not operate holistically within formational objectives, we risk missing the main point of theological education. So now I'm running out of space. I cannot even begin to share the theological and biblical grounding of character and virtue education, nor can I show you the historical, philosophical, and educational roots of one of the most important traditions in many global societies. I cannot here tell you why I think character education is different from spiritual formation, nor can I explore the reasons for the death of character and virtue education in theological seminaries and many Bible colleges. There are also many misconceptions about character and virtue education which we cannot explore, nor can we look at the data that indicates that in the broader society there's a renaissance toward character and education. And finally, I cannot even begin to talk about the practices of rethinking pedagogy, revising curricula, assessment, finding the role of community in character education, or what practices like habituation are. But you can make time for all of this. If this video has sparked a vision in you, please nurture it. Read more, research more, converse more with your colleagues, take short courses together, discuss more with the leadership in your institution about the big picture of theological education and how you are contributing to it. This video is being recorded in 2020. As the world is struggling to find ways forward in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Theological educators are also struggling, but let me encourage you, don't lose the big picture. As you discuss new delivery modes, online learning, budgetary challenges, strategies to cope and innovate, always ask yourself why. Why are we educating women and men of faith? What is the overall purpose of what we are doing? How are we contributing to the Missio Dei? And as you ask these questions, perhaps you might also find room to consider that character and virtue education is one of the most important things we can do as theological educators.